All right, let's talk about something that I think a lot of us have felt at some point. That feeling, you know the one, where you're not the first choice. You're the backup plan, the person they call only when option A doesn't work out. Today, we are going to dive deep into the psychology behind that, what it really means to never be the first pick, and how that experience just completely rewires how your mind works.
And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, right? It's not about hearing no. No, it's that weird, complicated sting of hearing yes, but, yes, but only because my first choice didn't pan out. That feeling of being conditionally accepted, that's a whole different kind of hurt. And it really sets the stage for some incredibly powerful psychological adaptations.
So here's the thing, and this is probably the most important point we're going to cover. The patterns that pop up from this experience, they are not character flaws. Let me say that again. They're not signs that you're weak or broken. Nope. They're actually these really sophisticated survival strategies that your mind built to get you through a world where you just didn't feel like a priority. And that brings us to this slide, which I think is just a brilliant way to look at it. On one side, you have the common view, right? We see these behaviors and we think, oh, that's just a personality flaw. But the psychological reality, it's completely different. These aren't flaws. They are the mind's adaptations. They're learned responses to a really specific and often difficult emotional environment. It's a total reframe. Okay, so how exactly does the mind adapt? Let's get into it. We're going to walk through 6 key survival patterns that tend to show up when someone consistently gets that second choice feeling. All right, first up, adaptation number 1, hyper-awareness of social signals. And honestly, this is kind of like developing a social superpower, but it's one that's born from a deep need to protect yourself. It's this intense, almost like a sixth sense for the emotional vibe of a room or a relationship.
So how does this even happen? Well, it's pretty fascinating. When you're constantly feeling ignored or rejected, it's usually not this big dramatic event. It's quiet. It's subtle. So your brain starts to tune into the tiny things. It learns to read a slight change in tone, a pause that's just a little too long, a shift in body language. These become huge alarm bells. It's a defense mechanism, really, a way to sense that distance before anyone ever has to say a word. Next up, we have adaptation number 2, a really, really strong sense of independence develops. And we're talking about a fierce self-reliance here, something that's forged not because you wanted it, but because you had to have it. Think about it. When you can't really count on emotional support to be there when you need it, your brain does the logical thing. It just stops expecting it. So what happens? You learn to be your own hero. You become your own cheerleader, your own source of comfort. And it's so important to get this right. This isn't about someone hating help or pushing people away. It's about not trusting that help will actually stay. Okay, now let's see how these patterns start to weave their way into our relationships. The next couple of adaptations we're going to talk about are these powerful, almost primal instincts that directly shape how we try to connect with other people. Adaptation number 3 is overgiving in relationships. And I bet this is a pattern a lot of you will recognize, either in yourselves or someone you know. It's that tendency to just pour everything you have into someone else, right? You're giving way more than you're getting back, and there's a very specific psychological reason why. And here's the why. If you grew up feeling like you were basically replaceable, your brain's solution is a clever one. I'll just become irreplaceable. It's a strategy. You give more time, more energy, more understanding, more everything, because you're trying to make yourself so essential that nobody would ever dream of letting you go. It's all rooted in this deep-seated belief that love is conditional, that you have to earn it by being useful. This leads us right into our 4th adaptation, this deep, quiet, constant fear of being temporary. It's not a loud, panicky feeling all the time. It's more like this low hum in the background, a belief that your place in someone's life could be taken away at any moment. And what does that do? Well, it can lead to a kind of self-silencing. You might start downplaying your own needs or avoiding conflict at all costs, because the main goal is just to stay included. Don't rock the boat. Don't give them a reason to swap you out for someone new. The fear isn't really about being alone. It's the specific fear of being quietly and seamlessly replaced. All right, as we move into our final section, we're going to do another big reframe. Because these last 2 adaptations, what might look like a burden or a weakness from the outside is actually often a hidden and profound kind of strength. So adaptation number 5 is what we can call silent emotional strength. This is about developing an incredibly high tolerance for disappointment and emotional pain. It's a type of resilience that isn't loud or flashy, but man, is it powerful. When you've been let down again and again, when you've seen plans fall through or people just leave, you develop a certain calm when things go sideways. You've been there before. This emotional endurance means you don't break down when things go wrong. It's this quiet, resilient strength built by surviving 1,000 tiny heartbreaks. And that brings us to our final adaptation, number 6, valuing loyalty over affection. This is a fundamental shift in what a person looks for in their connections. It's about moving away from chasing those big, flashy gestures and toward valuing something much quieter, much more stable. And this table just lays it out so perfectly. Affection, it can be intense, it can be exciting, but it can also be unpredictable. For a brain that has learned to be suspicious of inconsistency, loyalty becomes the real gold. It means safety. The core desire isn't choose me once in a big, grand moment. It's the deep, profound security of choose me every single day. And that brings us to this. Because once you see the pattern, you stop blaming yourself. This right here is the ultimate takeaway. Once you understand that these are learned survival mechanisms, not personal failures, everything changes. It's so incredibly empowering. It lets you move from a place of self-blame to a place of self-understanding. So, I want to leave you with this question. Now that you see the pattern, what do you stop blaming yourself for? As you think about these adaptations, whether you see them in yourself or in people you know, what clicks into place? Now that you can see the architecture of survival, what old story about yourself can you finally let go of?